Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Neil and Tim sent me a story with a headline that pretty much tells you what happened, but you dig into the details to make sure the story is accurate, but it's scary. It's scary. This is from CBS, but widely reported. Driver says he was mauled by a California police dog after missing car rental payments. So he missed a couple rental payments on a car, and somehow that ended up being that he was being mauled by a police dog. So let's see how we get from one to the other. A gig driver badly mauled by a police dog is now suing a San Francisco area suburb, alleging use of excessive force and violation of civil rights when police stopped him in December of 2020 after he had missed car rental payments. Now, you might say, Steve, when did the police get involved in collecting payments on rental cars? Well, dashboard and body camera videos obtained by the San Francisco Chronicle show the man unresisting but wailing in pain because there is a San Ramon police dog clamped onto his arm, and his arm is in the dog's teeth for more than a minute as officers try to handcuff him. He is yelling to the officers, "I never do nothing. I never in my life do anything." And so he's yelling at them like he's kind of confused as what's going on, other than the fact there's a dog biting him. He's a 42-year-old resident of Oakland. He's driven for Uber and Lyft and started delivering for DoorDash when the pandemic hit, and that's according to news outlets. So he gave up his own car because his income had dropped, so he decided to rent a Toyota Camry from a company called Car Mommy. And Car Mommy is apparently a startup company which caters to gig workers, according to the lawsuit. Here's a company that says, no, we're going to buy cars and rent them to people so they can do these jobs, and we'll make money as they make money. Everybody wins. So he told the Chronicle he fell behind in payments to Car Mommy, but he told them he would pay them shortly, and he said that he'd done that in the past. So he talked to them before, and they said, okay. And so he thought, well, this is something that they've allowed me to do in the past, so I can do it again. The CEO and co-founder of the company reported the car stolen, according to the man's attorney, resulting in the car's license plate number being listed in a State Department of Justice database shared among agencies. And this is the kind of thing I often tell people, is that people say, for instance, if they came out and repossessed your car and you came out and your car is gone, just report it stolen. And I said, well, was it stolen or was it repossessed? Well, it was repossessed. Well, don't file a report saying the car is stolen if you know what happened to it. In other words, you can call the police and say, here's what happened to my car, do what you think is necessary. If they deem it stolen, then yeah, go ahead and let them do that. But when the company calls the police and says this car was stolen, if they didn't say, by the way, we put it into the possession of the guy who's got it and we know who he is, then they've got a problem, because this is not an example where somebody came by, looked around, and snagged the car. They knew who had it, and he had it with their permission at one point in time. So that's a little different than the car was simply stolen. So the man in question here was driving to work, and he went to a gas station, and apparently on the way there, the plate triggered a city's license plate reader. We talked about those recently, how some cities are installing license plate readers that just sit there at a corner and scoop up data, which is make, models, and colors, and license plates of cars passing by. So apparently this car passed by and it was in the system as stolen, and that flagged it. And so the police decided to deal with it as a stolen car. Officers in a half a dozen cars pulled him over, drew their guns, and there was a dog involved. And again, I don't blame the dog. I love dogs, and working dogs even more so. They're not just a companion, they're working, and a lot of times they're doing very, very important jobs. And I have the utmost respect for a dog, but a dog is like anything else in this world. It can be misused. So they then, after they got his arm out of the jaws of the dog, rushed him to the hospital for surgery. Now, San Ramon police chief told the news outlet in an email that the department conducted an internal investigation into the arrest, but declined to answer other questions about the situation, claiming he can't do so because of litigation. According to the San Ramon Police website, the department has 3 canines who each received over 320 hours of initial training prior to working. The San Ramon Police Department use of force guidelines state that a canine may be used to locate and apprehend a suspect if the canine handler reasonably believes that the individual has either committed, is committing, or threatening to commit any serious offense. The policy also says canine may be used if the suspect poses an imminent threat, the suspect is physically resisting or threatening to resist, or the suspect is believed to be concealed in an area where entry by other than the canine would pose a threat to the safety of officers of the public. And those all make sense, although I'm a little curious about threatening to resist arrest versus just resisting. The man's filed a federal lawsuit. It was filed last month against the city of San Ramon, its police chief, and several police officers. He's also suing Car Mommy and the people there who were involved in putting him in this car. Meanwhile, the city attorney for San Ramon, as well as the attorneys for the business and so on, did not return messages from the Chronicle seeking comment. On an aside here, in 2020, a police officer in Utah was charged with aggravated assault after video showed him ordering a canine to attack a man in his own yard. So here's the question, and I understand that we weren't there. I wasn't there. You weren't there. And so they pull this car over, and their information says it's a stolen car. But the question is, do you sick the dog on the guy immediately, or do you wait to see if he's going to get out and cooperate? And we don't know enough about what happened. But the real question here is, why was the car reported stolen? If, in fact, it was reported stolen, that would be a problem. And there are situations where people come outside and a car is gone. Car is gone. They have no idea what happened to it. So they call the police and go, my car was stolen. And it makes complete sense. Now, I've had people tell me that they went outside, their car was gone. They called the police. Police poked around a little bit and said, oh, actually, your car was repossessed last night. Repossession company called us and said, we're going in to take this car. We've got the right to do it. If we got paperwork, if you want to see the paperwork, we can show it to you, but we're going to grab this car. They went out and grabbed the car, and so when you call the police know about it. Makes sense. But I've also had people tell me that someone had their car, they know who has their car, and in an attempt to get it back, they go, I'll just report it stolen. That'll get some action. Just report it stolen. And there is, and I've talked about this before, although every time I talk about this, it gets at least one person to email me saying I'm wrong. But there are different wrongs that can be committed by people against other people involving property. How's that? So if I walk by your desk and I see something that you own, I know you own it. You know you own it. You turn your head and I grab it and I run away with it. That's probably going to be considered theft. Theft by most people. It's not mine. I took it. I deprived you of it. That is theft. Okay? You've got something on your person. Let's say a watch. You don't know me. I walk up to you in the middle of the night, a dark, scary alley. I insinuate I might be armed, and I say, give me that watch, or bad things will happen to you. And you very nervously take the watch off and hand it to me, and I run away. Now, that is theft. I did take it from you, deprive you of it. It is not mine. It is yours. But because I took it by some form of threat of violence, that turns it into robbery. Okay, and you understand, there's different distinctions depending on how this stuff went down. If I have something, like a car, and you come to me and say, Steve, can I borrow your car? And I say, what are you going to do with it? You say, I need to take my sick child to doctor. He's got a really bad cough. I fear it might be serious. I'm going to take my child to the doctor, and after that doctor's appointment, I'm going to bring him home, and I'm going to bring you back your car. Have the car most for the morning. For the morning. Can I borrow your car? I say, okay. I hand you the keys. You get in the car. Turns out you don't even have a kid. And you drive like a maniac to Florida. And I find out because the car is involved in an accident in Boca Raton. And the police call me going, do you have any idea why your car is in an intersection? Any idea at all why your car is there? because it was involved in an accident, and all we saw was somebody running away. And I go, my car? He goes, yeah. He gives me the license number description. It's clearly my car. My car's in Florida. How did it get there? How did it get there that fast? Now, here's the deal. Did that man steal my car? Well, it depends on how the auto theft statutes are drawn in the state you're in, but that is what we call conversion, because I gave it to him with the understanding that he was going to use it a particular way, and he deviated from that and took it for his own use and used it in a way that harmed me and deviated wildly from the permission I gave him. He had permission to use the car. He didn't have permission to drive it to Florida. Okay? So now, if I suspect that my car is in Florida, but the police have not called me, that accident didn't take place, someone calls me and goes, Steve, I just saw your car in Florida. What's it doing down here? And I go, oh my gosh, the guy never returned the car yesterday when I gave it to him. That's kind of weird. So I called the guy. He won't answer the phone now. But someone else says, sick child. He hasn't even got a child. What are you talking about? He lied to you. Point is, I gave him the car. I gave him the car to use for a limited purpose, and he then stepped outside of that purpose and converted it to his own use. Okay? That'd be conversion. Now, some states would say that is a form of auto theft defined by a statute that says any of the following things are auto theft, possibly including using a vehicle contrary to the permission of the owner or something like that. But here, if I called the police and simply said, my car has been stolen. Now, somebody would say, Steve, that's fine. Your car was stolen. We know what's going on here. I should say, my car has been taken by somebody. I lent it to them for the limited purpose of going to the doctor and coming back, and instead they went on a 2-day joyride. Now they're down in Florida. Because the police will put that in their system somehow, but they'll just make a note that, oh, we know who's got it. But the idea that you can just knee-jerk say it's been stolen because you want it back, that's where problems like this come from, okay? So we'll learn more about this, because as of right now, none of the defendants are talking, but we'll learn more about this, especially if it goes to trial, and it'll be curious to see what they reported about the car, because they knew who had it. And if you'd paid the money, they would have let him keep it. And so what we've got here would not be so much of a criminal thing as it would be a civil thing. He owed them money, for which he got bitten on the arm, and his arm is a mess. It's a mess. So Neil and Tim, thanks for sending it. CBS published it. Associated Press also ran it. Driver says he was mauled by a California police dog after missing car rental payments. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. With every sunset, a new hope is born and an expectation dies.